Hi there, I'm Emerald Star, and welcome back to the channel. When it comes to queer romance, it often takes place in high school and centers around teens. And I'll be so honest, I'm a little exhausted from that. I don't hate any of it, to be clear. I could never. I read Heartstopper. But I will admit that I'm a lot more eager to see queer stories with adults, especially young adults. Even better if they're around my age. Funny enough, the last time we spoke, I told y'all about Keeping Time, which fits the bill perfectly. Link to that in the description and the card above somewhere, right about now. So what if I told you we have another queer webcomic centered around music, and two queer dudes down bad for each other? Well, good news, we have just that, and its name is Beside You. Beside You is a queer webcomic that's been in motion since 2018. It's all about two fellas, Danny and Alden, as they slowly realize their feelings for one another, as they venture through community college. Technically, I've been keeping an eye on this comic since last year when I first learned about it, but I only started reading it in late March. And when I tell you I was hooked, I mean I was absolutely hooked, y'all. Okay? No joke, I caught up with the comic all in one night. It's that good. I've been obsessed with it ever since. This comic is not only a new favorite, it's one that really resonates with me, especially as someone going through the motions of community college right now. Wasn't expecting that. So naturally, I must talk about this new obsession the only way I know how. With all of that being said, join me as I share my thoughts on Beside You, and why you guys should read it. Let's jump right in, shall we? Section 1. What's Beside You all about? Beside You takes place in the early 2000s, specifically 2003, and centers around Danny Strife, a former delinquent who's on his way to starting college. Upon starting community college, he meets the cute teaching assistant Alden Taylor, who just so happens to be helping out in one of his classes. Once the fellas befriend one another, the sparks immediately hit off as they help each other. Danny helps Alden up his music taste, featuring a lot of rock music and its many subgenres. Meanwhile, Alden plays a part in helping Danny figure out his next steps and stay in school. You see, Danny isn't too fond about being in college and would rather go the route of roughing it out in LA to become famous. A true punk rocker, I must say. Despite that, Danny is also eager to help his family out and is only in school as a promise to his mom. Alongside these two fellas, we have a stellar supporting cast to aid them in this ongoing story. As mentioned earlier, Danny's mom plays a key role in his life. We also have Danny's younger twin siblings, both of whom look up to him. Our good fella is a family man. We love that. Then we have the third queer fella in the mix, Marceau, whomst we stan. He's a messy fella who's down bad for Danny. Seriously though, Marceau is such a fun character. The confidence, the outfits thus far, and just his energy bring a lot to the table. He keeps things so interesting. I do hope our messy fella takes a hint before he gets hurt, but considering we're only 1/3 of the way into this story, who knows how that'll play out. And then we have Mr. Slater, who, well, he's a grouch. He's the absolute worst kind of teacher you'd hate to have in college. A jaded man who's very clearly been dealt the hand of being in education for a bit too long. And yet, hear me out, I find him hot. Listen, I was all set to hate the guy, okay? I really was. And to some extent, I kinda do. But just look at him! Dude's grouchy and hot all at once? How rude! Anyway, what really brings this comic to life is the stellar use of music, and various music references. It's usually rock music, but there's a dash of pop in there too. Between the references in the story, the chapter titles, and the use of lyrics to symbolize specific moments between characters, Beside You captures the perfect blend of music and storytelling all in one. Reminds me a bit of a certain musical dramedy I'm obsessed with, but only a bit. Now, of course, the story centers around our two lovebirds, Danny and Alden. It's time to talk about them both, and we'll start with the punk rocker himself. Section 2. Danny, the talented rocker. Danny Strife is our main protagonist of this story. He's a punk rocker with a damn good singing voice, can play guitar pretty well, and is genuinely a nice guy who's simply trying to make it in the world as a famous musician. And it's clear as day he's got the talent and drive to do it. Danny's passion is music. His love of rock comes from his mom. He even joined his younger sister's band as a vocalist. However, our leading fella is also struggling with his obligations as the resident family man in his father's absence. Wait a minute. This sounds awfully familiar. Okay, but they'd be fantastic friends, high-key. I'm just saying. Anyway, Danny is also looking out for his twin siblings as they move closer to finishing high school and may possibly go to college. And Danny wants to make sure he's there for them and his mom. On top of that, as stated before, he made a promise with his mom to stay in school and go the distance. Poor guy fears that it'll just lead to more debts. And honestly, I don't blame him for feeling that way. As someone who's also in community college right now, money is also a point of contention for yours truly, and it always makes me worry to be in debt while also trying to get my education. College costing so much goddamn money is an issue all on its own, but I digress. We could make a whole video about that. There's always that push and pull of staying in school versus achieving your dreams. I'm sure many of us have been through that, or maybe going through it right now. Back on topic, Danny's struggles with going through school versus his desires to be famous all culminate in him supporting his family, but in two different ways. On one hand, he believes his talents will take him all the way, so he can support his family as a famous musician. On the other hand, going to school may also show his younger siblings an example of what can be done if they go the distance. Either way, Danny could help his family out while also achieving his own dreams. For a moment there, however, it seemed like our talented fella was all set to give up on staying in school and figuring out a plan B. That is, until Alden dropped in. Once Danny and Alden became friends, the former began to see a bit more hope in his otherwise stressful options. Alden helps Danny stay focused on being in school and possibly transferring to his dream college in pursuit of music. It's shown that Alden is a great influence in Danny's life. He's also Danny's big crush, and that leads to all sorts of cute moments between the fellas. Seriously, Danny and Alden are so cute together. I'm sorry, but their beautiful moments together at the park lives rent-free in my head. Have been since first reading the story, as of scripting this video too. Now let's talk about our other leading fella, Alden, and how he contributes to this lovely comic as well. Section 3. Alden, the talented educator. Alden Taylor is our other protagonist of this story. Alongside Danny, he's also got a lot going on. As stated earlier, Alden is a teaching assistant at the community college. He's a hard-working fellow who's handling said assistant job through grad school, while also working as a barista at a cafe. Ah yes, the classic college student struggles of working two jobs, cause college ain't cheap. It do be like that sometimes. We don't know too much about Alden via his personal life, save for a few bits of info we get once in a while. The small hints we've received thus far may lead to more about him in the near future. Considering we're only a third of the way through the story, I anticipate more from him. But luckily, there's enough as is to get an idea of who Alden is as a person. Upon working with Mr. Slater, you can already see a night and day difference between the two. Slater is a jaded and dejected man who's just here to get paid, while not caring much as to what happens to the students. He's just here to do his job. Compare that to Alden, who genuinely cares about everyone in the classroom. He's the antithesis to Slater's unhelpful methods of teaching. It gets to the point where Homeboy stands up to Slater and takes over his classes in an effort to provide better help for the students. He also does it to make sure Danny doesn't get tempted to leave, since Slater decided to be a cunt towards our punk rocker for always being late. You may be cute, Slater, but I didn't forget that shit. Folks like Alden are the kind of teachers I love to have, cause you can tell they give a fuck not just about their job, but also about the students they're teaching as well. When he's not being a top-tier teacher in the making, Alden is hanging out with Danny. Like I said in the last section, Alden is a great influence on Danny, but it goes both ways. Danny is also an influence on Alden, just in a different way. Our future educator isn't very hip with music, which prompts a passionate Danny to do something about it. Thanks to our punk rocker, Alden is given mixtapes with tons of songs to listen to, and it leads to him becoming a lot more interested in music overall. As the story progresses, you can see how much he's enjoying Danny's recommendations, while learning to appreciate music more. He's also very down bad for Danny whenever he hears them singing. I see you, Alden. I see you, honey. In return, Alden is helping Danny stay in school and plays a part in giving them a tour of their dream college, which he attends for grad school to begin with. How convenient. He helps out with a letter of recommendation and even guides Danny on how to move forward with the application process. Alden gives Danny options to help him pay for college and keep his dreams alive of going to the same school as some of his rock star idols. And it all happened on their totally not a date. Speaking of date, the same day the fellas went to the college also led to Alden being invited to Danny's house for dinner with his family. And in classic romance comic fashion, Danny's family all clocked Alden as the evident love interest. And although Danny was in denial about it at first, it did lead to the fellas having that special moment in the park. But alas, Alden understood the implications of dating one of his students at the moment and had to decline. As of scripting this video, Alden and Danny are staying just friends in order to not create a conflict of interest between them. Despite that, however, you can clearly tell he wants to be with Danny. In due time, we'll see how the fellas end up moving past that obstacle. Again, we're only a third of the way through the story. For now, though, I shall wrap this video up. Section 4. Conclusion. Beside You is one of those webcomics that gets you excited per every update and makes you root for the leads through their ups and downs. And with help from a fantastic selection of music, the comic also uses that to help us further understand what goes on in some of the characters' heads as we progress. Casey, the author, even has a playlist with music from the comic that I highly recommend checking out. Link to that will be in the description. Additionally, I'll also be linking Casey's Patreon as well. If you consider supporting her, you can see pages early as they're posted. And of course, a link to read the comic's public pages thus far will be down below as well. I highly recommend Beside You if you're a lover of music and looking for a queer webcomic focused on college folks or just young adults in general. I know it's another queer webcomic that just so happens to involve music, and queer guys falling in love as a result of said music influences. But honestly, I'm okay with that. It's nice to have more than one of those around. I'm eager to see what happens next in this comic, as there's still a lot more story to go, and I gotta see how it all plays out. And I hope some of y'all out there will do the same as well. It's a well-written story that also serves as a love letter to music in its own special way. And that, among many other reasons, is why I believe you should give Beside You a read. You won't regret it. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic in the comments down below. I'd love it if you did. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, peace out. Bye!